Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Ozcast. The Mental Health Show with Mark Haston.
Fiona O'Loughlin, how are you?
I am very well, Mark Haston. How are you?
Well, I'm good. I'm sober, clean.
Oh, same. Aren't we lucky?
Isn't that great? I know. It's good. You know, I mean, honestly, what was going on? Why would we even sort of, contemplate having a drink?
It's wonderful, to talk to someone who, knows exactly the hell that we put ourselves in. Because generally, people who haven't lived it, oh, God bless them, aren't they lucky? But if you haven't lived it, it's like trying to describe another colour.
Yeah. It is. And also, you certainly have a far larger platform than I do to help people, and with you going public, and I commend you for that. I think that's a wonderful thing, and yes, it is brave, but it's helping you and others. But it's interesting, isn't it, when you start helping others, how good you feel about it. You're sober, you help others, it's a great feeling. Then you think to yourself, why on earth was I ever doing the other? Is that how you feel?
Absolutely. I look at it with shock and awe, really. And I'm just so grateful to have climbed out of it, because so many people don't get there. And I well could have been one of them.
I know you could have. I know. I have to work at it a lot. Do you have to work at it a lot?
Well, Mark, I tend to work at it because I include it in my work.
Yeah.
It's so part of what I do. And as you say, that joy of helping others, it actually is vital to pass it on. It's the only way I manage to keep it is... I talk about it daily to strangers online, and it really does help me as much as them. The only, because you and I are both people who've gone public, let's say. Yeah. How did you fare with with the people? I still get a sense that the people closest to me would like me to shut the F up.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Yeah, it's a good observation. I think there are certain people who are close to me who feel it's been a good thing. Others who are probably a little more private themselves have said to me, and they don't say it now, they said to me, go public with something like that. Maybe when you're trying to get another job, it's going to be an issue for you. You might not. You might not find the job you want because the employers might feel as though you're a risk. That's probably happened, Fiona, to be honest, but that doesn't worry me. Maybe it'd worry me if I was a lot younger and I had 30, 40, 50 years of work left in me. But so it's been a mixture for me. What about you?
Well, the astounding kindness I've been shown, from the public has never ceases to amaze me. But I guess for someone who's, comedians are quite, you either like them or you don't,
Yeah.
We're a certain, people like a certain type of comedian. I well understand there'd be people out, people who are not their cup of tea. And I imagine they're the kind of people who'd be like, why doesn't she shut up? I've had a few people on social media, not many. I've been very, very coddled, really, on my socials. But every now and then it's like, all she does is talk about her alcoholism. Well, I'm sorry, but, yeah, that is probably what I'll talk about for the rest of my life. Not over and over again, the same thing. But I'm never not going to be an alcoholic. I believe I was born an alcoholic in the making. I lived as an active alcoholic for probably close to 20 years. I'm now a sober alcoholic, and when I'm dead, I'll be a dead alcoholic, you know. And to me, it'll be a battle, and it will be hard won, but we've got to get rid of this shame and stigma. It's absolutely, it makes me so angry, and it's so counterproductive. If only people knew.
I understand. I think in terms of going public, I think you know, and look, I can't speak for myself in terms of how people feel about how I went public or when I talk about it. I mean, I've got a feeling, but for you've done it in a way where it's not, oh, woe is me. It's, please feel sorry for me, It's more, well, this is my personal opinion anyway. It's more, please, folks, please, people, understand that this is a big issue and understand that it can change your life like that for the worst, and you can lose everything. Even almost, Fiona, your life.
Your life.
Yeah. And I feel as though if you're doing it in that way, which I believe you are, and I think most people do, then that is unbelievably powerful for you, and it's unbelievably powerful for those people that you're talking to, whether it be face-to-face, interview like this, or on socials.
Yeah, I thank you very much for saying so. I like to think of it as, I think of my disease, and it is a bloody disease, and I think that's the first thing that it would be great if more people could just be on board or come on board with the fact that it is a disease. And, any disease has a job to do. And this disease, I think of it with a personality, and it would have been, it's so weird, hindsight is such a beautiful thing in recovery, because I look back now, Mark, they say it's a cunning, baffling, powerful disease, and hell it is. I used to believe, like, I believe I'm talking to Mark Aston right now, that I was terribly nervous before each show. Like, I felt nervous, the nerves. But in fact, I think it was the disease. Yeah. Getting me all, because I can do a show now. I mean, I have a nice amount of anxiety. Nobody's supposed to go out to a crowd of 400 people with a pulse rate of
of 120/80, or what it is.
Yeah, but it was just the nonsense, the lies it would tell me. For so long, Mark, it was my solution, and it really was a solution to everything. To oh God, there's nothing that a drink couldn't fix. Yeah, and I guess it's I've actually learned that it's okay to grieve it as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Yeah.
And I've only really very recently allowed myself to do that, because I just hit my first anniversary of a year off booze and codeine.
Excellent.
Yeah, what a thrill. And I've certainly done a year before, but never like this. The last time it was when I did Australian Story, and I mean, I thought that was as happy as it got. And I look at that episode, I looked at it recently, I'm like, oh God, you poor thing. You thought that was
you poor thing.
But what we do know, what astounds me, Mark, with this disease, if you were from another planet and we were showing, an alien, what's the go with this? As long as there's been alcohol, there's been 10% of people who have an inverse allergy to it.
Oh, totally, yeah.
And cannot stop when they start, and have no power to that second drink or third or what.
Mm.
And no one would choose it. Anyway, this 10%, of that 10%, only, like, they're destined to live a ruinous life. While the rest of the drinking public, can drink with impunity, but there's a cost to that. And the cost is this 10%. And so it's much easier for us to turn away and not look. And blame it on the weakness of that individual. Well, I'm not buying that, because there's proof. We have proof. We know that this 10% or thereabouts has been there forever and a day and always will be. And I'm so tired of it being, I even get cross with Alcoholics Anonymous thinking, does it have to be anonymous? I'd love a world where we could be me too, can't touch the stuff.
Yeah.
Or all hell breaks loose.
Mm.
And I think, if people too could only, please, anybody, if you're dealing with a loved one, and I know that we're annoying as all get out drunks. How annoying are we, But once an addict has decided to make change, and relapse is pretty inevitable. It will happen. But is that me or you?
I'm not sure. I think it might have been me. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Then it seems to be that people, the people closest to the addict seem to be still pretty interested in the drama of what went on when the addict was under the influence.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a tricky one, I know, because some alcoholics or addicts have harmed. And I guess that's a completely different basket. I mean, that's the thing about alcoholics. We'll take it. If we go to jail, we go to jail. Or, it's not, I still get it that you have to own it. But there's got to be, we've got to do better than we do.
Well, it's not working. There's no doubt it's not working. What about,
it's life and death, Mark.
Yeah, well, it is. It is literally life and death. Did you and do you still have issues, because I certainly do, but do you still have issues with severe guilt and shame as to who you affected when you were, in that hole?
Oh, it was that. I've had to really do a lot of work on that, because that guilt and shame, unfortunately, is the very thing that will take you down again.
Yes, that's a great point. That's a really, really, really good point, actually.
So I think, I've no problem. I'm good at apologies, and they're easy for, I don't find it hard to say sorry. And as far as I know, I know that I've really, all that matters at the end of the day is your family, and the people who love you. And I'm pretty sure I've but I really think I must do a making amends tour, Mark, because I would relapse every 3 months on average. So if I was, and my relapses would last anywhere from 3 days to 7 days. But sometimes, unfortunately, there would be a show in amongst that. And I know Port Fairy, Broome, Wagga. I've got to do a making amends tour, and just, anyone who was there on this night, they're the people I feel for and would love to somehow say sorry to, because to take away, it just horrifies me to think that people, planned a night out. They got their tickets, they parked the car, they got babysitters to turn up and have a drunk on stage that couldn't, it's so shameful. But I think I'm the best man for the job anyway,
But Fiona, the other interesting thing about what you just said then is that is how powerful this bloody thing is. Because who in their right mind would jeopardise a family, a wife, a job, their life, someone else's life, a show,
their children.
Yeah. Well, their children, yeah. A show in your case. Who would do that? Well, we would do it, but what is that? And some people would say, and those listening now and watching might go, "Oh, come on, it's a cop out." Well, no, we're taking responsibility for it, but that's how powerful this cunning thing is. That's how powerful it is. Yes. And that's why we should be really proud of what we've done in terms of. And you for 12 months, me for almost 2 years. We should be really proud of that, and proud about the fact that particularly you with your following are helping others. But we should be really proud of the fact that we, at this point, have beaten something that is really, really, really hard to beat. Really hard to beat.
Yeah, well, only 1% of those 10% are we're bloody miracles, and I'm so grateful to have survived it. And it is, isn't it? It's like you've survived a horrific, long, drawn out crash.
Man, it's like the longest nightmare in the world, with monsters and ghouls and disasters and explosions and whatever other words and adjectives I can come up with, that is just basically just a complete and utter horror show.
Yeah, an absolute horror show.
It really is.
I think anyone who, I don't know, I wonder now, my son said, if alcohol was, if they just stumbled across it now, I think, no way are we giving that up.
No. Yeah. Tastes pretty good, but no, we'll give that one a miss. We'll give that one a miss, which is unfair on those who can have one glass. I mean, I'm so envious of, I work at La Trattoria and I work in the pizza bar, and quite often I have to walk through the restaurant and there are people in there, and I look and they've had one glass in 3 hours or 2 hours, and they've had a beautiful pizza or a pasta, and I'm thinking, you lucky so-and-so. That'd be great.
And isn't it interesting? I've walked, you walk past Hutt Street, outside dining, and you look at a couple having a lovely drink in the sunshine, and I think, oh, wouldn't that be nice? And then you have to really hit the honesty button and go, well, Fiona, do you remember any time you ever just sat anywhere and had 2 glasses of wine? I've never had a drink in my life,
I've never had a drink in my life. And that's a great line. And I know what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I understand.
And I find it extraordinary to watch non-alcoholic drinkers, and they can – I'm obsessed with their drinks. Watching someone leaving, an inch in a glass and not being aware of it and being able to walk. I'm like, what are you doing? That's precious. It's crazy.
I know.
The obsession of the mind with alcoholism is another part of the disease that I don't think many people are even aware of. But whether I did a lot of white knuckling, a lot of it, because as a mother, particularly of daughters, we get called on it. A grown daughter particularly will call you on it. And I have smart, strong daughters and sons, but it was never okay for me to drink because I outed myself so early in the piece, Mark, and I came out as an alcoholic I didn't even understand what an alcoholic was.
Mm.
And I've told the whole world I'm an alcoholic. And that was after, you know, my public rock bottom was, I don't know how many years ago now, a long time ago, but it was passing out on stage in front of 400 people at the Queensland Performing Arts Centre. And yeah, I joke about it in my show. Like, yeah, basically I bored myself, you know, I nodded off 20 minutes into my own show. But the humiliation of that was almost too big to comprehend. And then I've woken up in the Brisbane hospital with an alcohol reading of 0.44. And my manager, again, I was due to be on Dancing with the Stars. This was a Saturday morning. I woke up in the hospital, and I had to be on stage for Dancing with the Stars on that Sunday night. And you see, my agent and Channel 7 were encouraging me to tell the media that I was exhausted. I just couldn't do it because I knew that there would be 400 people who forever and a day would know that they didn't witness an exhausted woman. Well, I was probably exhausted, but they were looking at a very, very drunk woman. So I'm forever grateful for that in a way, but I couldn't have made it harder on myself. So I did white knuckle for, as I said, I tried. From that time on, it was on average every 3 months. But drunk or sober, this obsession of the mind, obviously it was better to be sober than drunk round the clock, but it's not much better. You're still not present. No,
that actually, and you make a good point.
Well, it's like your every waking moment, you're thinking about it. And even though you can't have it, it never leaves you, not for a second. Doesn't leave you alone till you're asleep, you know, and there's such long, long days. My kids say to me now, they say, it was like you were there, but you weren't really there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And, you know, it's a lot of loss. That's the other reason I hope for people to, as I said, get rid of this shame and stigma so more people can come forward and not only heal themselves, but to heal their kids. It's a terrible thing to be the kid of an alcoholic. You know, because they're so afraid. My children, that's the thing that haunts me, is how many nights these kids lay awake in fear. You know, that should be the other way around, mate.
Yeah. And that's all part of the shame and guilt, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you made such a great point, and I think it's worth repeating. You made it earlier, and that is that the shame and the guilt can actually, if you don't get hold of that and beat that, well, not so much beat it, that's probably not quite the right word, but keep it under control, then that can lead you back down the path. I mean, how nasty is that? How cunning is that by this alcohol? I mean, you know what I mean? Like you feel as though you've got every right to be shameful and unhappy, or not so much shameful and feeling guilty about what you've done in the past and who you've affected. And yet, if you do that, there's every chance you'll relapse.
Yeah.
I mean, work that out. What's that about?
I know. It's almost like, how far can I take my recall at my own risk?
Yeah, 100%.
Something like, yeah.
I know.
But I do think, you know, it's very powerful, and I do think that there are things about alcoholism that bless us, and it's hard to explain. I actually would not return this disease, not for all the money in the world would I have it any other way, because now I get to live. The one thing you have to conquer before you conquer to conquer alcoholism, you must conquer your ego. And to conquer your ego is a wonderful way to live.
Yeah, 100%. This is a good discussion. I love this. Yeah.
And I would never have found that way to live had I not been alcoholic. Because I know who I would have been. Had I not been an alcoholic, I still, I'm a show-off. I love attention. I love making people laugh. I imagine, it's really interesting because the one thing I know, I can see me, if things had gone differently and I had been able to drink, I think I would have been really much less likable as a human being. I don't think I would have listened as well because I would have been showing off, really. Long lunches, isn't she funny? I'm so glad I escaped even a normal life. The worst is done now, and I'm grateful. Not many diseases, this is the beauty of alcoholism, there's not many diseases where the treatment, and you know what the treatment is as well as I do, and each alcoholic has their own treatment. We have to create it ourselves, what it is. Some people go to AA, but at the end of the day, we've got to acknowledge every single day that we're prey, possible prey to this, and arm yourself. And it's so simple for me. I got into Wayne Dyer. Have you ever heard of him?
Oh yeah. No, sadly, he passed away, but I've got all of his books.
Well, he changed my life.
Yeah.
It was, it was a line of Wayne Dyer's, and what was it? He said, only when we are truly sick and tired of being sick and tired can we begin to heal ourselves.
Yeah, and he focuses very heavily on the ego.
Yes. And hell, did I have an ego?
And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but maybe you're saying you're saying indirectly that what happened to you was a gift, because I believe that what happened to me, as bizarre as it is now for some people to hear this, and certainly at the time when things really fell apart for me, there's no way in the world I thought it was a gift. I thought, what's going on here? This has turned into a disaster. But I look back and see what happened to me as a gift. I think I'm getting the feeling that you look back on what's happened to you and actually feel as though it was a gift and that you have taken it and run with it. Would that be a fair call?
Without a doubt. Yeah, it's a gift, because I would have missed out on living an examined life. Imagine missing the boat on that.
It's hard for other people to understand that, Fiona, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess it is.
Well, people who haven't gone through alcoholism or drug addiction or gambling addiction or whatever. Yeah. I think it would be difficult for people to conceptualise, well, how could you say that was a gift? I mean, it affected so many people. You were embarrassing. You did this, not you, but just generally I'm talking.
Yeah.
How could you see that as a gift? But I get that. Yeah, you're seeing it as a gift, and that in itself is wonderful, because that's, I reckon, and I'm God, who am I to tell you? But I reckon that is a major load off your shoulders as well, or other people's shoulders.
Yeah. I know my youngest daughter, I think she thinks of it as a gift as well. That she always said, I knew this had a happy ending, Mum. The sweetest thing you've ever heard.
That's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just on that, with her saying that, how did that make you feel?
Oh, blessed, Absolutely blessed. And it's the last thing I thought would happen to me. You know, I had an alcoholic uncle, and I used to look at him with very little. I just thought he was mad.
Yeah.
You know, why would you drink? Why would you do it? And it creeps up on you.
Mm.
All of a sudden, you're there, and I know the moment of no return for me. Because I always copped a hangover, and I didn't like hangovers, but I copped them and got on with the day until I reckon I was 36, and we're having a big, you know, those recovery days that you have after you know, so we'd had a 40th the night before, and the recovery was at our place in Alice Springs. And I was, you know, 5 kids and 20 people for lunch and pounding headache. And just, look, hangovers, the physical hangover is nothing compared to the emotional hangover. That's absolutely brutal.
That's a killer.
It's like your soul screeching along a tarmac, you know, it's absolutely unbearable.
Yeah.
Anyway, a friend of mine said, come here. And she noticed how green I looked, and she poured me a shot of bloody Jamison or something, and I downed it, and holy hell, the hair of the dog. And that was the beginning of the end. Had no idea. And then I did the Adelaide Fringe, my first Adelaide Fringe, still completely unaware that I was alcoholic. That was the first time I drank daily. I'd never been able to drink on a hangover. So Adelaide Fringe, of course, I had to drink every day because I couldn't possibly go on stage without my 3 standard drinks in me. And then bloody partying at the Garden of Unearthly Delights till 4 o'clock every morning. And I remember when that show, that season finished, it was 2000. I was staying at my sister's house, and now I know it was the DTs. You know, I was seeing a huge black, like a wild dog in my face, and it was as real as you are. The most terrifying thing, and I had no idea what it was. I realised years later it was the DTs. Yeah. But the gift of it is, though, too, I think, is to understand the harm that we are capable of causing, and to know that we can, you know, thankfully I have an image, it's a gross image, but not all miracles are pretty, you know. But it's just it's the face of one of my children looking out the car window the morning after Mum's done it again. And I'm able to pull that image out. And as sad as it is, that image keeps me sober.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Because she was heartbroken, and I was the one that, you know, that was at my hands. So when it comes down to the shame and all of that, that's pretty much the only photo I keep, you know, that image. That's enough.
That is very, very, very powerful. An image like that is going to, and if for those listening, something like that is worth putting somewhere where you see it all the time, perhaps. Hey, Fiona, do you feel as though, as a result of where you're at now, and I'm sure you're like a lot of us, it's just one day at a time. So, you know, I don't particularly want to ask you any personal questions about where you think you'll be in 12 months or 2 years or whatever. When I say personal, I mean what we're talking about. But what I do want to ask you, though, is do you feel as though with the journey you're on, you could be an even better comedian?
I already am a better comedian.
Wow.
And that's,
wow.
You know, I've never actually stood by my work. There was something I disrespected about my own work. And I guess it was because I was, you know, I was a drug cheat, basically. That's like cheating. and I would say, alcohol affects the frontal lobe and your inhibitions. I'd say things that, yeah, sure, they were outrageous things to say, but I wouldn't have said them sober. There's a smarter way to say it, or a cleverer way.
Yeah.
And I don't really stand by much of my stand-up until these past few years.
Well, that's a wonderful thing. See, that's the...
it's so joyful, Mark. It's like because my stand-up used to be something, and this gets back to the ego. I felt, we grew up in an era where there wasn't much, you're the best, didn't we? Not many.
Absolutely.
But that's how it was.
Yeah.
And I felt deep down terribly guilty for having so much. I felt guilty a lot of the time that I got so much attention, and I was rewarded for so much bad behaviour in many ways. But now it's like it's brand new to me. Stand-up was just something I had to get through as best I could. Knew my shows, but I wasn't present in the show. And now it's like it's night and day for me. Because now it's my only outing. I'm not. There was always a part of me, particularly during festivals. Oh, I can't wait. I'll get this show done and all the applause, and then I'll go out and get more. And when I came to terms with, and it's actually what I told my children, that if you have a gift, it doesn't make you special. We're all special, but it's the luck of the draw. Some people are beautiful. Some people have long legs. Some people are great spin bowlers. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's just your genetic, what you got. So give it away freely and don't be precious about it, accept and be grateful for it. And that's freed me no end.
Yeah, it's a great word, free. In this
freedom. This is like freedom. Yeah. I feel like I've been let out of jail.
Yeah, in this instance, the word freedom is a beautiful thing. It's and again, I don't want to be presumptuous, but and just very, very briefly, because obviously this is about you, but for me, I felt a fraud for a long time while I was doing radio and TV. Is that how you?
Absolute fraud.
Yeah.
Oh, if they only knew what a rotten piece of I am.
Yeah. You imagine the pressure on you, knowing that, hiding it, masking maybe some depression, masking the alcoholism, masking how you feel about being a fraud. Mate, that's so tiring.
Oh, exhausting.
It's so tiring. You could sleep all day and you'd still be tired if you're thinking about that. And to release that, and again, I don't mean to, but to release that, again, that gives you, I think it gives you so much more confidence, self-esteem, motivation, purpose. And when someone's as talented as you, and I don't mean to embarrass you, but when someone's as talented as you at something and has been for a long time, despite the fact that you might have felt like a fraud or whatever, or you weren't doing it as well as you could have, can you imagine how much abundance there is in the future for you?
Thank you. It is exciting.
Yeah.
I can't believe, if anyone listening, you've got to hear the joy that you're in for. I mean, you've got to work for it.
Yeah.
But you are in for. See, I thought sobriety just meant you didn't drink anymore, and you.
And that was it.
And that was it.
Yeah, I know.
This is like being given a whole brand new life. And the only thing I can't do that I used to do was be, I was so funny, Mark, at the start of a night out, I remember Mikey Robbins saying, when I'm name dropping terribly, but he'd say to me, "Oh, Fiona, you'd walk into the Peter Cook bar," and that was the hub for the comedians in Melbourne. He said, you'd walk in and we knew the party had started. But I'm very at peace with saying goodbye to the party. I've had a great party, but the party has ended. And it's been replaced with something, it's so bloody joyful and so precious that, God, if I've got to give up that one thing, because, that being that funny person at the party, and I remember who said this to me, and it was Greg Fleet.
Yeah.
And every now and then people will say things to you and on your way to getting sober, and they plant a little seed, or you never forget that they said it. And, Greg was using heroin at the time, I'm sure, and I don't think I'm breaking any confidence.
No, that was all public, yeah.
Yeah. So he had no reason. He was just being brutally honest. And he made the observation. We were sitting outside having a drink at the Sydney Comedy Store. And he said, yeah. He said, God, I've noticed with you used to be so funny. There was nothing better than when you hit the party. And you still are. But he said it used to last for hours. And he said, now your funny is really over in about half an hour. And he said, and then you get really boring. He said, you repeat yourself. You laugh a lot at yourself. You really... And because I knew this bloke was telling me, giving it to me as straight as a die, because he had no other reason. Why would anyone say that unless they meant it? Yeah, and that was another, and that was the truth of the matter. And you can't reverse that. And we can chase it. It's like chasing any drug. You'll never, ever get that feeling. It will never be as good again.
No.
So even if I were to stop drinking for 20 years, I'd be exactly the same because the disease has already progressed that far.
100%. And of course, as we know, that's the danger of starting again, and it's the danger of even contemplating that I could just have one, or you could just have one. Hey, Fiona, the Unreliable Witness, how long's the book been out?
About 3 months, 3 or 4 months.
Good. And you've got a show by the same name on the 23rd of January at the Dunstan Playhouse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next Saturday.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course.
Or Friday.
Yeah. I'm saying the 23rd of January. Yeah, it's not far away at all. I just wanted to thank you so much for hey, look, I know you've done a lot of these interviews. I understand that. But it's a different audience, and we're sort of doing it on socials as well, and we're doing it visually. And I really want to thank you for, being so open and honest, and for I'm sorry for everything you've been through, and a lot of people have been through similar. But, as you said, it was meant to happen. It's a gift. You're through it, you're working on it, and you're helping other people. And I think that is just to be absolutely commended. It's just a great thing.
I'm right back at you, Mark. Tell me, what's it like 2 years down the track? Is it still as good?
Well, it's different because obviously I'm not working, and I mean, not that the money, I couldn't care less about the money now, but, I'm not working at 10. I'm doing the stuff on FiveAA where I'm filling in over Christmas, but, so I don't have sort of 2 full-time jobs where I'm earning a lot of money and living in a lovely house and driving a lovely car and living with my beautiful wife. I mean, none of that I lost everything. And I'm very saddened by losing my wife. That's horrible. They'll never get over that. And she'll
It's brutal, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm forever guilty, and I just feel horrible about that. But I don't care what car I drive. I mean, I don't care if I have to fill shelves at Coles or Woolworths. I don't care what sort of a house I'm living in. I mean, I'm lucky I'm with my sister here. None of that stuff is. I'm not saying that I wouldn't aspire to up the ante in 2 or 3 years' time. But the point I'm making is I'm not worried about that at all.
No.
In any way, shape or form. It's like I probably have an ego, but I couldn't care less whether people know who I am, whether I'm on TV or not. Couldn't care less. All I care about is continually getting well, is to continually stay sober and clean and no gambling. And if I can do that, given that I did all of that stuff since I was 14, I'm 62 now, then that's a win for me. If I can go to the grave and never do any of that again, but not achieve anything from a career point of view or a marriage again point of view. I mean, I have a beautiful daughter and a lovely brother, and some friends. If I don't achieve those other things, which are totally materialistic and very false anyway, I couldn't care less, as long as I keep well and as long as I'm as good a person as I can possibly be.
Oh, geez, you're speaking my language. Because I've started again. You know, we lose everything, don't we? You know, the loss is huge.
Yeah, it's tremendous. Yeah.
Financially.
Oh, yeah. I know.
So I find myself 50, what am I, 57, living in a very humble little flat that I'm renting. I don't own a home. But the same, Mark, I don't, nothing seems to be getting anything but better.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And to be honest, Fiona, well, not to be honest, to be frank, that's how we have to think. Because if we're chasing other things, then we're going to neglect our health. And then when you neglect your health, everything else falls down around you, as we both know.
Yeah.
So it has to be that way. I mean, you know, if someone came to me now and said, look, you know, I've got a full-time job for you, blah, blah, blah. If I don't feel as though I'm in the right headspace, well, there's no point in taking it because I'm not going to last, and that's going to be disrespectful to them. I'm going to feel bad about that. And so it has to be health first. It has to be. It has to be. You know, it has to be. 23rd of January, Dunstan Playhouse. The book, by the way, is called The Unreliable Witness, which is very clever and beautifully named. Fiona O'Loughlin. That was an experience.
Thank you, Mark. You're very good at this. I really enjoyed myself.
Well, that's the first interview I've ever done. I've never interviewed anyone else before in my life. I just thought I'd have a crack at it and see how I went. Hey, bless you, Fiona.
You too.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to AuscastNetwork.com for details.